My stepfather gave my wedding inheritance to his son, so I bought their house and raised the rent. The crisp autumn air sliced through the quiet suburban street like a sharp secret waiting to explode. Golden leaves crackled underfoot as Jenna stormed past white picket fences and cozy glowing windows. The houses looked perfect, paint fresh, gardens tidied, porch lights flickering gently. But every step in this charming neighborhood felt heavier, coated with a bitter taste she couldn't swallow. Jenna's hands trembled, the paper clutched tightly. A bank statement, cold and cruel, glaring back at her. Her chest tightened, breath catching in a jagged choke. Just days before her wedding, the foundation of her future cracked wide open. The inheritance, that sum meant to help build her new life, had vanished. Her stepfather had shelled it out to his biological son instead. A thudding betrayal, sharp as ice. She'd known for a week. Knew and planned. Her world lurched. Trust shattered like. Jenna wasn't the sort to crumble in silence. Not now. Not ever. She stood before their house, the place where her stepfather and his son paraded their triumph like a trophy. The lawn was stubbornly green despite the fall chill, and the door, smooth mahogany with a polished brass handle, held stories she wasn't welcome to hear. But she was about to rewrite those stories. A real estate agent had grinned when she made the offer, surprised and a little shaken. Jenna paid cash. Without fanfare, without hesitation, she bought the house. The place that felt like a locked chest hiding a secret poison. Walking inside for the first time as the new landlord, the air smelled faintly of cinnamon and old leather. Comfort turned bitter. Light from a dim chandelier flickered, casting long shadows on the cracked wooden floor. The walls, thin and peeling at the edges, seemed to close in, pressing against her skin. Somehow it felt hers now, and terrifying at the same time. Her steps echoed through the empty hall, the silence shattered by a distant creak. Stairs just above, footsteps, slow, deliberate. She could almost hear the stunned murmurs already bubbling behind those walls. How would they face this unexpected twist? Would her stepfather's sharp smile falter? Would his son's confidence wobble? Jenna's mind raced, heart pounding like a drum. This wasn't just about money. It was about taking back what was ripped from her, carving out justice on her own terms. But deep down, a cold question gnawed. Would this move bring her peace, or just open new wounds, bleeding fresh pain? She tightened her grip on the brass doorknob, gaze fixed on the shadowed staircase. The echo upstairs grew louder. The inevitable showdown was creeping closer. Her breath hitched, eyes steady, ready. The house whispered secrets. Jenna was ready to listen and to fight. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jenna's fingers dug into the cold brass doorknob, knuckles white like winter frost. Her chest clenched, sharp and sudden when she heard it. Not the footsteps she expected. A crash, a shout, a breath ripped out, ragged and raw. The front door slammed open. Jenna froze. A man stumbled inside, wild-eyed, clothes torn and dirty. His face was a mask of desperation, the kind you see in nightmares. He pushed past her like he wasn't even aware she was there. Then he dropped. collapsed by the cracked wooden stairs, gasping like the air was stabbing his lungs. "Dad!" the boy upstairs called out, voice trembling with something like panic. Jenna's heart slammed against her ribcage. She moved faster now, breath uneven. She crouched beside the man's pale face. The stranger's skin was sweaty, slick with something dark. Was that blood? His hand, reaching blindly, brushed against her calf, trembling uncontrollably. "I'm sorry," the man whispered, voice breaking. "I didn't mean, I just needed to—" Jenna's world cracked wide open in a way she never expected. The man wasn't a random intruder. It was her stepfather, alive. Her stepfather, the man she thought she'd known, the man she'd hated for stealing from her, was barely holding on. The stepfather who gave her inheritance away, who disappeared, wiping his hands as clean as he could, was lying here, broken and trembling with secrets far darker than money. Behind her, the stair creaked again. His son appeared, face pale, eyes wide, frozen somewhere between fear and something else. Rage, guilt, horror. "Dad, what the hell? What happened?" Jenna's gut dropped. "Why didn't anyone say? Why didn't you say you left?" she asked, voice sharp, trembling. The stepfather's eyes fluttered open, uncertain, glassy. "I never wanted you to find out like this." Her mind scrambled. Questions hit like bullets. Why was he dirty and hurt? Why was he hiding? What dark game was tangled up with the money, the house, the lies? And then, sharp as a knife, the boy gritted his teeth and spat. "You deserted us. We figured you were dead, just like Mom." Jenna's breath hitched. His words landed like thunder. "Mom?" The boy's voice cracked as he added, "Mom didn't die. She's been locked away all these years." Silence slammed down, parts pounding in the sudden weight. Jenna's head flicked between her stepfather's shaking face and the boy's haunted eyes. The inheritance, the house, their bitter war. It was nothing. There were secrets buried so deep, so ugly, they tore families apart like wildfires. Her stepfather coughed, his voice weak, almost desperate. "She's alive, but you don't know the horrible truth. I tried to protect you, all of you." Behind the tension, Jenna's hands shook, a new storm raging inside her. A mix of anger, confusion, pain so raw it left her breathless. The fight she thought she was ready for was gone. Instead, she faced a nightmare she never imagined. The silence broke with a sharp noise. A door down the hall creaked open. Her heart froze. Something was coming. Something dangerous. And Jenna knew. This night was far from over. Jenna's heart raced as the door creaked open down the hall. A chill rushed through her, wrapping around her throat. She turned sharply, every nerve on high alert. Her stepfather gasped, pulling in desperate breaths, his eyes wide with wild fear. The boy's face paled, worry deepening the lines around his mouth. "Dad, please! What is happening?" The words hung heavy, thick with dread. The air was heavy with uncertainty. Jenna felt like she was standing on the edge of a ravine. Something awful was coming. Something that would tip the scales on everything she thought she knew. The weight of the moment pressed against her chest. She had to know. Then another noise. Footsteps approached with startling speed, shattering the tense silence. An unfamiliar woman surged into the room, wild hair framing her pale face, eyes sharp and glistening. She looked like a ghost, haunting and fierce. "Get away from him!" the woman screamed, pointing an accusatory finger. Panic twisted through Jenna. How did this woman know them? More importantly, why was she so angry? "Who are you?" Jenna's voice trembled, despite her effort to sound strong. Each word felt like it scraped against her throat. "Stay out of this!" the woman yelled at Jenna. then shifted her gaze to the boy, her expression shifting from fury to raw anguish. "You shouldn't be here. You should have stayed far away from him." "Mom?" The boy's voice barely registered. Every eye turned to him, confusion thickening the air. The woman's face crumbled. "I thought you were supposed to be safe." She staggered forward, reaching for the stepfather, lying on the floor. "What have you done?" Jenna stumbled back, shock spreading through her like ice water. The pieces began to fall wildly around her like marbles in a shaken jar. This was wrong. So wrong. "Mom, what's going on? Who is this woman?" The boy's voice cracked, desperation spilling through each word. "He's not who you think he is," she shouted, her voice a crescendo of pain that ripped through the room. "He's been lying to all of us." Jenna's mind scrambled with questions. "What do you mean, lying? What is happening?" The room felt like it was swirling, and every breath was a struggle against the storm inside her chest. "He's the reason you've been suffering. He's the reason I was taken," the woman cried, eyes blazing with rage. Jenna's breath caught. "Taken? What did she mean?" The boy reeled back, shock painting his features. "You can't mean," he stammered, looking from Jenna to his father, who lay gasping on the floor now, dread pooling in his eyes. "I'm sorry," the woman whispered, but her voice dripped with something far darker than regret. "I didn't want this to come out now, but it's time you all knew the truth." Then, as if the floor had dropped away beneath her, Jenna realized what was happening. The very foundations of her existence began to tremble. The life she thought she was building, the past she thought she knew, it all felt suddenly unreal. Before she could process another thought, a loud crash echoed from upstairs, followed by a scream. The crushing sound shattered the moment. "Mom." The boy's voice echoed, rising in panic. Then he turned to Jenna, eyes wide with dawning horror. "You don't understand. He has to pay for what he's done." Jenna felt her stomach drop. What did that mean? She glanced at the woman, then back at her stepfather, the man who had chosen to betray her. Questions surged like a tide, threatening to drown her in confusion. And then, as the night plunged deeper into chaos, Jenna could only stare, the pieces of her fractured world spinning out of control. The truth, the terrible heart of it all, was wrapped in shadows, waiting to reveal a darkness she might not be ready to face. The scream from upstairs rang loud, a terrible bell tolling the end of their old lives. In this new, twisted reality, Jenna realized she might just be standing on a threshold into a nightmare she didn't know awaited her. Jenna felt her heart race, the scream echoing through the house like a ghost unearthing its long-buried secrets. The boy's panic washed over. She caught sight of his mother's frantic eyes, filled with terror that mirrored her own. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of revelations that threatened to unravel everything. "Mom, we need to go help," he shouted, his voice a desperate plea. Jenna's pulse quickened. She could practically feel the chaos brewing upstairs, a storm about to break free. But as she glanced at her stepfather, the man she thought she could hardly bear, she felt a surprising pull of concern. Something about his trembling form spoke of past connections, of shared moments that seemed surreal now. "Let's check if he's all right," she managed, stepping closer, her instinct to defend battling with her raging anger. But before she could do anything, her stepfather groaned, his eyes rolling back in his head. Was he slipping away? No, she couldn't let them lose him now. Not when everything was crashing down around them. That's when the woman lunged forward, pushing Jenna away. "Get back, you!" she spat, glaring with the vigor of rage and desperation. But then, suddenly, her gaze shifted beyond Jenna, something more terrifying overtaking her features. Behind Jenna, shadows crept across the wall. A figure loomed in the doorway, large and foreboding, blocking the dim light from the hallway. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face that sent chills spiraling down her spine. "Surprise!" the figure said, grinning wide. It was Danny, her younger brother, the very person she thought was out of reach. The one she had fought tooth and nail to get away from. Only he looked different, older and more dangerous, a glint of something sharp flickering in his eyes. "Danny?" she gasped, her heart pounding. "What was he doing here? What are you doing? You shouldn't be here." "Shouldn't I? Seems like the party's just starting," he replied coolly, his voice dripping with malice. The tension in the air sharpened, slicing through her resolve. It twisted like a knife, leaving her dizzy with disbelief. Everything was spiraling out of control. "What is going on?" the boy shouted, tearing his gaze between Jenna and Danny, confusion layering over fear. "He's not here for you," Jenna blurted, but her words felt weak. How could she defend them? It was her brother, the brother who had caused unspeakable trouble, the one she tried so hard to distance herself from. The woman took a step back, recognition dawning across her face. "You?" she shrieked, her eyes wide with horror. "You're him?" The accusation sent a tremor through the house, shaking the delicate balance of their world. "I'm here to settle a score," Danny said, moving closer with an icy smile, as if calculating their every reaction. "You all have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes, do you?" Jenna's stomach dropped. Whatever she thought she understood about betrayals and hidden secrets, it all felt like the surface of something monstrous lurking below. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed again from upstairs, and the floor trembled as if in anticipation. Jenna's heart raced. Something had shattered. Something beyond their comprehension. "Mom!" the boy screamed, panic igniting in his eyes. Jenna felt her back hit the wall, the urge to flee battling against the instinct to protect. She didn't trust Danny, but the chaos unfolding threatened to consume them all. "I won't let you hurt them," Jenna hissed, stepping forward defiantly, even as terror crept up her spine. Danny chuckled darkly. "Oh, Jenna, you don't even know what I'm capable of." And just like that, the foundation trembled, shadows stretching longer. And the floodgates to their tangled realities burst open, leaving them teetering on the brink of chaos. They were caught in a storm of dark truths, none of them ready for the consequences. As the screams from above grew louder, Jenna found herself absorbing the truth, a truth that might unravel everything they thought they knew. The night loomed dark and heavy, and Jenna stood at the edge of an abyss, unsure if she would leap or be pushed. Understood. Here it is. Jenna felt her heart race, the scream echoing through the house like a ghost, unearthing its long-buried secrets. The boy's panic washed over her. She caught sight of his mother's frantic eyes, filled with terror that mirrored her own. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of revelations that threatened to unravel everything. "Mom, we need to go help," he shouted, his voice a desperate plea. Jenna's pulse quickened. She could practically feel the chaos brewing upstairs, a storm about to break free. But as she glanced at her stepfather, the man she thought she could hardly bear, she felt a surprising pull of concern. Something about his trembling form spoke of past connections, of shared moments that seemed surreal now. "Let's check if he's all right," she managed, stepping closer, her instinct to defend battling with her raging anger. But before she could do anything, her stepfather groaned, his eyes rolling back in his head, Was he slipping away? No, she couldn't let them lose him now, not when everything was crashing down around them. That's when the woman lunged forward, pushing Jenna away. "Get back, you!" she spat, glaring with the vigor of rage and desperation. But then, suddenly, her gaze shifted beyond Jenna, something more terrifying overtaking her features. Behind Jenna, shadows crept across the wall. A figure loomed in the doorway, large and foreboding, blocking the dim light from the hallway. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face that sent chills spiraling down her spine. "Surprise!" the figure said, grinning wide. It was Danny, her younger brother, the very person she thought was out of reach, the one she had fought tooth and nail to get away from. Only he looked different, older and more dangerous, a glint of something sharp flickering in his eyes. "Danny?" she gasped, her heart pounding. "What was he doing here? What are you doing? You shouldn't be here." "Shouldn't I? Seems like the party is just starting," he replied coolly, his voice dripping with malice. The tension in the air sharpened, slicing through her resolve. It twisted like a knife, leaving her dizzy with disbelief. "What is going on?" the boy shouted, tearing his gaze between Jenna and Danny, confusion layering over fear. "He's not here for you," Jenna blurted, but her words felt weak. How could she defend them? It was her brother, the brother who had caused unspeakable trouble, the one she tried so hard to distance herself from. The woman took a step back, recognition dawning across her face. "You?" she shrieked, her eyes wide with horror. "You're him?" The accusation sent a tremor through the house, shaking the delicate balance of their world. "I'm here to settle a score," Danny said, moving closer with an icy smile, as if calculating their every reaction. "You all have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes, do you?" Jenna's stomach dropped. Whatever she thought she understood about betrayals and hidden secrets, it all felt like the surface of something monstrous lurking below. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed again from upstairs, and the floor trembled as if in anticipation. Jenna's heart raced. Something had shattered, something beyond their comprehension. "Mom!" the boy screamed, panic igniting in his eyes. Jenna felt her back hit the wall, the urge to flee, battling against the instinct to protect. She didn't trust Danny, but the chaos unfolding threatened to consume them all. "I won't let you hurt them," Jenna hissed, stepping forward defiantly, even as terror crept up her spine. Danny chuckled darkly. "Oh, Jenna, you don't even know what I'm capable of." And just then, as the oppressive tension hung in the air, there was a deafening crash from upstairs, followed by a voice full of despair and fear, one that sent icy fingers crawling down Jenna's spine. "Help! Please, someone help!" And in that heartbeat, everything shifted. The woman's expression transformed from rage to shock. "My God, what's happening?" she cried, clutching her head as if trying to hold the weight of the world. "Stop!" Danny shouted, clearly agitated. "You can't go up there." Jenna's instincts screamed at her. She had to know what was happening. What had just been a family feud spiraled into something darker and more terrifying. She turned to the boy, desperation in her eyes. "What's up there? What did he do?" But her brother's face went pale, words trapped behind trembling lips. Suddenly, Jenna heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps running down the hall. Then, out of the chaos, a figure burst into view. A little girl, wide-eyed and disheveled, her cheeks streaked with dirt. "Help me!" she cried, voice cracking as she stumbled forward, panic written all over her tiny face. Jenna's heart dropped. "Who are you?" she asked, stepping closer, but the girl trembled and pointed back toward the hallway. "He's coming!" Before anyone could react, a shadow loomed over them all, massive and brooding. In that instant, Jenna caught a glimpse of something terrifying behind the girl. Danny's face twisted into a cruel grin. Looks like the real game is just beginning. And with that, the front door slammed shut, trapping them in a nightmare that felt like it would never end. Jenna's heart raced, the little girl's cry echoing like a siren in the night. Panic flooded her veins. Danny loomed closer, his smile growing wider, an unsettling laugh rumbling deep in his throat. He looked like a predator, ready to pounce. The air in the room went stale, thick with dread. "Help me!" the girl screamed again, backing away toward the shadows, eyes darting as though every corner held a monster. Jenna's pulse quickened. She couldn't stand still. She had to act. "Get behind me!" Jenna shouted to the girl, stretching her arms out protectively. Danny stepped forward, eyes glinting with mischief. "You're not ready for what's next, Jenna. None of you are." His breath was heavy and sickly sweet, a warning scent that made her stomach turn. Behind them, the woman's face twisted in horror, panic mixing with confusion. No, this can't be happening," she whispered, wringing her hands. But the weight of the moment pressed down on Jenna. She had to face him. "Stay away from her!" Jenna shouted, her voice fierce. The little girl's eyes widened, grateful but terrified. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from upstairs. A window smashed in, glass raining down like a storm. The scream reverberated again. Not just any scream, but the kind that echoed with pain, despair bubbling over into the air. Jenna froze for a heartbeat. "Mom." The boy cried again, frantically searching for answers. "We have to go!" But before Jenna could muster any words, Danny's laughter echoed through the space. "Oh, this is just too good. You think I'm the worst one here?" He gestured around with wild arms, tilting his head, a manic glint in his eye. "You have no idea what's been going on." The little girl stepped closer to Jenna, squeezing her eyes shut as if willing away the horror. "Tell us!" shouted the boy, voice cracking like thunder. Danny sneered. "You want the truth? Your mother's biggest secret." "It's not just your dear old dad hiding in the shadows." He stepped closer, lowering his voice as though imparting a secret out of a horror film. "Your mother is the real monster here." Shock pulsed through Jenna's veins. It sent tremors down her spine. "What?" she managed, her throat tight, breath coming in shallow gasps. The room felt like it was pressing in on her, the walls closing tighter. "That's right. She's the one who has kept us all trapped," Danny continued. His voice rising, a manic frenzy building. "Every single thing happening right now, it's all her doing. She made me do it." She thought no one would find her, but here we are, all of us. The woman gasped, her face paling. "You don't know what you're—" But he cut her off, his voice sharp like glass. "No, you don't get to turn this around. You think you can control everything, but look where that's gotten you." Jenna spun to the woman. "Is this true?" She felt her heart thumping against her ribs, waiting for the truth, waiting for it to cut deep. The woman faltered, fear in her eyes. "It was for your protection. Another crash from upstairs, louder this time. The thud of a body slumped heavily against the floor. "Mom?" The boy cried again, fear coating every syllable. Jenna's heart raced faster. The girl clung to her side, eyes wide with terror. Danny smirked, enjoying the tension. "Looks like the time has come. Are you ready for the real game?" Jenna's breath caught as shadows flickered down the hall. The tension thickened, like smoke curling around her. "What do you mean?" The room shuddered as the little girl whispered. "Mom's never been who you think." The ground beneath Jenna seemed to ripple as Danny stepped closer, his smile widening, the lights flickering overhead, the tempo of their breaths in sync, a countdown leading nowhere good. And in that dreadful moment, Jenna realized they were not just fighting against family. They were entangled in a trap far more complex than betrayal, each secret darker than night. Just as she instinctively reached out to protect the little girl, the lights went out completely, plunging them into a darkness thick enough to choke on. The last thing Jenna heard was Danny's voice, cold and frightening. "Now let the real fun begin." Jenna's world spun in the darkness, the air suddenly thick with anticipation and dread. Danny's laughter faded into an oppressive silence, leaving her heart racing, and the little girl quivering beside her. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering faintly from the dying light, but an uneasy calm surrounded them. "Mom's never been who you think," the girl had whispered. And that echo haunted Jenna. It was a chilling reminder that everything she held true might be wrong. Before she could process her fear, a loud thud shook the house, reverberating through the walls. Footsteps pounded upstairs, heavy and frantic. Jenna's breath caught. Was someone coming down? Anxiety throbbed in her chest. Then she heard it, a muffled voice rising above the chaos. "Mom? Please!" The boy's voice cracked with desperation, each plea like a dagger in Jenna's heart. "Someone needs to help her!" Jenna shouted, the urgency spilling from her lips. She felt heat racing through her limbs. Right or wrong, she had to act. "Don't go!" Danny hissed, stepping closer, shoving his hand out like a barrier. "You won't like what's up there." But Jenna didn't stop. Take the girl's hand, she sprinted toward the stairs, her heart pounding in rhythm with her feet against the floor. The world around her blurred, existing only as obstacles in her path. As she reached the bottom of the stairs, darkness wrapped around her like a thick fog. There was only the sound, gasping breaths, and more cries piercing through the shadows. "Please, what's wrong?" she shouted, barely holding on to her resolve. She needed answers. Each step took her closer to the truth, or maybe a deeper pit of despair. Suddenly, a door at the end of the hallway swung open. Jenna's breath caught. She caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure lurking in the doorway. A woman, hair wild and disheveled, panic etched across her face. And then, something unimaginable happened. "Mom!" the boy shouted again, rushing toward her. But as he did, the woman stepped into the light. Jenna felt her blood run cold. It was her mother. Her mother, alive, unscathed. But her eyes were wild, glistening with a fire Jenna couldn't recognize. The shock hit Jenna like a freight train, her feet almost faltering. It felt surreal. "Stay back!" her mother shouted, voice trembling, wild. "You don't understand." Everything Jenna thought she knew shattered. The pieces fell around her like broken glass. "Why didn't you come for me?" she gasped, her heart racing, the pain bubbling over. "You left us. You abandoned us." Her mother took a shaky step back, fear dawning in her eyes, but something darker lingered. Guilt, maybe? "I did it for you, for all of you." "What? For what?" Jenna yelled, anger intertwining with confusion. And then it struck her. The woman wasn't just her mother. She was also Danny's mother. They weren't just intertwined by bloodlines, they were entangled in atrocities from the past that consumed them all. "Mom, don't let him take you," Danny shouted, pushing past Jenna, eyes wide. "You promised! You said you'd keep us safe!" Drop by drop, Jenna felt layers of connection peel away. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were interconnected through a past laced with secrets and bitter betrayals. Chains of loyalty and love that twisted painfully around them all. Just as the tension reached its acute peak, something in the shadows shifted. A figure emerged behind the mother. A tall man, features set into a mask of fury. The ground quaked under his presence. "Enough!" he bellowed, voice blending like thunder. "Show her the truth!" With that single command, reality splintered. The woman's expression shifted, dread flashing across her face. Those chilling words were a key, and Jenna felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Then from the darkness, something came into view. A box, ancient and worn, barely held together. The man held it like it contained the world's most perilous secrets. As he opened it, a light burst forth, a blinding brilliance that sent Jenna staggering back, a wave of heat washing over her. In that instant, realities blurred. Faces distorted, memories spiraled, and everything shifted. Jenna grasped for understanding, her heart racing. Because deep inside, she realized this moment would change everything. Maybe her mother wasn't what she thought. Maybe the truth held horrors far darker than betrayal. And as Jenna's world spun wildly, engulfed in a whirlwind of blinding light, she couldn't help but ask herself, what reality was she stepping into? The last thing she saw was her mother's face, torn between anguish and revelation. Then darkness crashed down, swallowing her whole. Her heart raced, panic intertwining with the unknown. She stood there, frozen, her mother's face twisted in horror. And then it happened. A loud bang echoed from within the box. It jolted everyone in the room. The ground shook beneath them. Jenna stumbled, her hands grabbing for the wall to steady herself. What was happening? The light flickered back on, and in that moment, reality shifted. Instead of the secret she had expected, the box revealed something far more shocking. A tangled mass of photographs. Faces she recognized. Friends, moments from her past, surrounded by unexplainable chaos. "Look!" Her mother's voice cracked, a mix of fear and revelation, woven into each word. "This isn't what you think." Jenna stepped closer, confusion deepening. The walls felt like they were closing in. "What do you mean?" she gasped, eyes scanning the room, hunting for any hint of clarity. But then Danny stepped forward, smirking, his posture exuding confidence. "You're all missing the bigger picture. It's not about your mom or the money or even our father. It's about the lies we've built our lives on." His laughter slashed across the air, sharp and bitter. "What lies?" the boy shouted, anger igniting in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Danny pointed at the box, the photographs spilling out like a waterfall of misplaced memory. "Look at them! You really thought everything was fine? You have no idea what you're linked to." Suddenly, Jenna saw it. The faces revealed more than family ties. They hinted at a dark web, connections that twisted between them like threads that bound a sinister tapestry. She noticed a photograph of her mother standing beside a woman she didn't recognize, her expression a mask of joy that hung like a noose, tight and suffocating. "What's going on?" Jenna whispered, panic clawing at her throat. "Who is that?" Danny leaned in closer, eyes gleaming like a predator. "That's the real question, isn't it? Your mother didn't just leave to protect you. She hid from her past." Stunned silence enveloped them. Jenna's heart thundered as she turned toward her mother, who now looked as pale as a ghost, the shadows around her darkening. "You were hiding something." "No!" her mother shouted, shaking her head with wild desperation. "You don't understand." But before she could explain, another crash rang out, and this time the walls shuddered violently. A terrifying scream sliced through the air, ripping apart the tension. "Help! Someone! Please!" It was the little girl, her eyes wide with terror as she appeared at the top of the staircase, blood dripping down her arms, staining her clothes. A new shock rippled through Jenna. What happened to her? All eyes turned to the doorway. Danny's smile faltered. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Just then, out of the shadows, the figure of a man emerged, tall and foreboding, his expression unreadable as he stepped into the light. Jenna's breath caught. She felt the weight of the world crashing down on her. "Enough," the man bellowed, voice thunderous. "You've all been led astray. Time to face the consequences of everything you thought you knew." Jenna's mind spiraled. The secrets, the betrayals, and now this man looming larger than life in the doorway. He pointed a finger directly at her mother, eyes filled with an icy fire. "And for you, it's time to pay the price." In that instant, the room fell silent. Fear worked its way through Jenna's body as she stood at the very edge of something dark and vast. The air shimmered, heavy with impossible choices and unimaginable truths. Then the ground beneath her quaked again, and the world spun, as if reality was being rewritten in that very moment. Everything they believed was about to change forever. Jenna's heart thundered like a drum, every beat echoing in the growing silence. The imposing man stood before her mother, tension thick in the air. This was a moment that could shatter their world yet again. Her breaths came quick. The little girl clung tightly to Jenna's arm, fear radiating off her small frame like a heat wave. "Let's just talk about this," Jenna pleaded, stepping forward, desperate for clarity amid the chaos. The flickering lights cast unsettling shadows across the room, making it hard to discern friend from foe. "We can figure it out." "Figure it out?" Danny scoffed, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, a smirk plastered on his face. "Oh, you don't have a clue, do you? This isn't a game." But before Jenna could respond, the man's eyes narrowed, a storm brewing deep within. "Enough of this charade," he thundered, voice deep and booming. "Your mother thought she could protect you by keeping the truth hidden, but it is time you all learn who she really is." "Stop!" Jenna shouted, desperation coating her words. She felt the room tightening, a vice squeezing her chest. The man's gaze flicked to her, piercing and cold. "No, child. You need to listen. The truth is far worse than you can imagine." He stepped closer, bringing the box with him. "Inside this box lies everything, the reality your mother has desperately avoided for years." "Show us!" yelled the boy, his brow furrowed, fear transforming into anger. With a swift motion, the man flung open the box again, but this time, instead of photographs, something else shimmered inside, a dark, swirling mist that drew them in. Jenna felt a pull, like gravity, tugging at her very soul. "Get away!" Jenna screamed as the mist began to rise, curling through the air like a malevolent serpent. But as it enveloped her, images flashed, faces, places. Memories that weren't even hers, yet they felt intimately familiar. She saw flashes of her mother, a different woman than she knew, with a man looking dangerously similar to Danny, entwined in a dance that screamed passion and betrayal. "Mom?" she whispered, heart racing. "What is this?" The world tilted, swinging her into another memory, a mirror reflecting the past, full of secrets she never thought possible. She recognized laughter, familiar voices layered with joy and pain. And then horror, darkness seeping in. "Don't let it take you!" the little girl screamed, breaking Jenna's concentration, pulling her back from the abyss. Suddenly, in the chaos, the ground beneath them rumbled ominously. Without warning, the entire room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, raining down like confetti of despair. The door at the end of the hall slammed shut, locking them in. Panic surged through Jenna. "What's happening?" "Mom, what are you hiding?" the boy shouted, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and rage. The man narrowed his eyes. "Your mother is not who she claims to be, and neither are you." His words hung in the air, wrapping around them like vines, tightening, squeezing out all breath and thought. Shadows danced, flickering between pain and revelation. Jenna felt it. Then a shift in the atmosphere. Her mother, standing rigid against the wall, suddenly crumbled, a sob breaking free. "I never wanted this. I tried to protect you all." Tears streamed down her face, turning the horror into something more raw. "Protect us from what?" Jenna shouted, frustration boiling over. And then the unexpected. The lights flickered violently, and in that moment, the girl stepped forward, small but determined. "Enough! I know the truth." Jenna's heart dropped. The child looked so serious, so certain. "What do you mean?" she managed to ask, dread pooling in her stomach. "Mom isn't just your mom. She's my mom too, and we're all tied together. With him." She pointed at Danny, who now looked stricken, his facade cracking. "No, that can't be!" Danny shouted, his bravado slipping. "You don't know what you're saying." But the girl pressed on. "We all belong to the same family, the family no one talks about." Everything stopped. The air thickened. A chilling silence enveloped them. Reality twisted, reshaping into something Jenna never imagined. This was deeper than betrayal. It was a web of lies that tied them across generations. As Jenna stood there, grappling with the mind-bending truth, the room darkened once more. Shatters encroached, and from the depths of the box, another image emerged. A vibrant, flickering portrait, the truth of their lives blinding her with its sheer weight. With an instinctual scream, she backed away, the fabric of her reality ripping apart. The darkness surged forward, consuming all, and in that chaos, a voice whispered in her ear, "You thought you knew the truth, but this is just the beginning." And in that moment, Jenna realized she was not just fighting for the truth, she was fighting for her very existence. Jenna felt the darkness envelop her completely. Whispers echoed, taunting her sanity. The little girl tightened her grip on Jenna's arm, eyes wide and shimmering with fear. The walls around them felt like they were closing in, each heartbeat roaring louder than the last. "What's happening?" she managed to gasp, the panic clawing at her throat. "Jenna, run!" her mother shouted, voice breaking, but it was too late. The man moved forward, the shadow's length. Images, faces, feelings swept in like a tidal wave, and Jenna was gasping for air, intoxicated by the haunting visions swirling around her. Then came a sound, a loud crunch, like a bone snapping. It shattered her concentration. Jenna's heart sank as the little girl shrieked. "No, please!" The mist coiled back into the box, revealing something new. A flash of an old newspaper article written on yellowed paper. "Mysterious disappearance leaves family torn apart." It headline screamed out at her, piercing through the chaos. Each word sank like stones in her stomach. "Look," the man said, voice a cruel chant. "Look at your history, Jenna. You think you're ready for the truth? Look at what you come from." She reached for the article, though her mother screamed, "Don't touch that!" But Jenna couldn't help herself. The words blurred, then sharpened, her vision snapping into focus. There it was, pictures of a bright-eyed girl, happy, radiant. But next to her, her mother, younger and full of life, but also something else. There was a darkness in her smile that sent chills racing down Jenna's spine. A loud crash came from the outside, causing the walls to vibrate. The front door, the one securely shut, burst open, and in walked a figure cloaked in shadows. "Sorry I'm late to the party," said the figure casually, voice dripping with sarcasm. Jenna squinted, heart racing faster. It was unmistakable. It was her father. "Dad?" The word fell from her lips, disbelief anchoring her in place. Every moment flashed in her mind. A childhood spent piecing together a father who vanished without a trace. But he didn't look like the man she remembered. His eyes were wild, filled with a frenzy that chilled her to the bone. "What are you doing here?" Jenna's voice shook, a mix of anger and confusion. "I came to finish what I started," he said nonchalantly, stepping further into the room. Shadows slipped off his shoulders like a dark cloak. "I am your family," he added, pointing toward the woman, then Danny, and finally the little girl. "You think you know what family is? You don't know what I've sacrificed." "What have you done?" Jenna's voice was a mixture of fear and rage. The atmosphere crackled, charged with danger. The little girl squeezed Jenna tighter, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You're the monster!" she cried out. "Monster?" her father laughed bitterly. "I did what I had to do to protect you all from the truth." But as those words sunk in, Jenna felt the world tilt. Danny moved closer, tension crackling between him and their father. "You think all this is about you? It's all been about her," he said, pointing decisively at their mother. The air thickened with accusation. "No!" her mother burst out, shaking her hand fervently. "You have it all wrong." But the shadow fell ominously over them, whispers wrapping around thoughts. The dark truth lurked at the edges, pulling them all into an unseen abyss. In a heartbeat, everything spun out of control. Jenna felt her heart in her throat, swirling with doubt. "What have you done? What are you hiding? I didn't choose this," her father shouted. "None of us did. But you have to understand, it was all to keep you safe." Just as Jenna was about to demand answers, a sharp crack echoed, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The shadows warped, expanding, and with a blinding flash, the room erupted. Jenna gasped as the entire space shifted. Reality collapsed around her, layers peeling away like pages from a book. The last thing she saw was her family, faces twisted with fear, accusations revealing heartache. But through it all, something rose from the ashes. A blinding light engulfed them, changing everything in a heartbeat. And then, darkness. Was it over? What had just happened? The questions lingered, unanswered, as silence fell like a heavy curtain. Jenna felt lost, caught with all the burning weight of secrets hovering around her, waiting to be unearthed. And as the silence deepened, she wondered, would they ever escape this time? Or was this just the beginning of something far more sinister?